Hello everybody, welcome to today's live stream. We're going to go ahead and just check to confirm that all of our levels look good, everything looks set. Alright, cool. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at BTC. We'll update some of our levels. We'll also take a look at some of our other assets. I shorted Solana this morning. We had this pre-market pump here. Which basically, market open is at 9:30 a.m. Eastern time for New York. This pump all happened following CME Open, going into New York Open. And whenever I see something like that, I typically expect it to get retraced. Why did I short Solana of all assets? Because, believe it or not, it's the weakest looking asset between a lot of the alts that I'm following. Between BOME, FET, Pendle, Rune, VET, Pepe, Bonk, Solana is the weakest asset right now. So instead of shorting anything strong, I shorted the weakest, and so far, so far so good on that. So let's go ahead and I want to start actually by zooming out. I shared a video Saturday morning where I talked about this, and I'll review it again in case you didn't see it. Is Bitcoin really isn't doing a whole lot. Okay, so we're basically stuck in this range right here. And when you're range bound, you just kind of expect price to continue to range until it either breaks up or breaks down. And I think that people are getting, it's really classic behavior for people when they look at markets when it's choppy like this. We're let me go down to lower time frames. So we have this range here, right? So it's very classic for people to be very bearish down here, very bullish up here, and they continue to go back and forth between being bullish and being bearish. And what happens is that they get all chopped up and end up losing on their positions. So in the video, I've kind of been talking about a long setup that I'm waiting for and have been waiting for a while. We'll go ahead and review that on lower time frames. Ultimately, what I expect is, for me, I would like to long this zone down here for then a move up higher. And the reason that I want to see this move to the upside, typically when you're range bound and you have a failed auction below the range, right, this deviation, that typically means or signals that we're going to be looking for a failed auction or a deviation or a sweep of range highs, or maybe even a breakout. Ultimately, what I'm getting at is that because we had this move to the downside in a failed auction, it suggests that now it's time to take out some highs. So ultimately, I am looking higher. It's just a matter of where would I want to long for that move up. And I've talked a lot about that in the last week. And we'll go ahead and review that setup and see how it looks and elaborate from there. So this is the setup that I've been looking for. And the reason being is, if we sort of look back at this green zone here, we can see that it's been support, resistance, support. It's something of an SR flip zone, support resistance flip zone. And so I would like to see that move to the downside here, or sort of a sweep of these lows. There is a fair value gap here, which I marked out the possibility of filling on a sweep right here. Either this or this move down, I would be happy to long either one. And in the event that that level is lost, we can look to this fresh monthly that we just put in, as well as range lows for a long setup. I still prefer this green path, and although prices, we are kind of having some sort of a breakup to the upside. I'm still not entirely convinced that this is like the rally. So we'll go ahead and take a look at it here and what this would look like. So everybody's been watching this wedge. Not surprising. So keep this green zone in mind. I'm actually just going to get rid of a lot of these drawings here. And for me, what I see, what I would like to see, this right now for me, let me look at volume here. I'm not entirely convinced that this is a breakout. What I would actually like to see, and this is a pattern that we've seen before, it's a fairly common one when the market starts to trade a little bit more complex, is a deviation, basically a fake out of this triangle or acceptance below. We would hit our zone here and then see the real move to the upside. For me, this is a setup that I really like. If price actually does get the real breakout here and we do gain acceptance, then of course we simply target range highs. And, the setup didn't play out, right? But ultimately, this to me still tracks. This setup for me still tracks, and I think that this, as of right now, does look good for that move. I don't think that this is, I don't know. I mean, it is happening on decent volume on a 4-hour time frame. It looks okay. I'm still not entirely convinced. I mean, ultimately, if we do gain acceptance here and we start to see some real volume and a back test or something, maybe you can look to long this. But if you see acceptance back inside this triangle, we are for sure going down here, right? The moment that price breaks back inside here, we're for sure going to cut straight through and we'll go down to about 65. I still like this setup more. I think that this is a good time for something like this to happen. So I'm going to remain patient for something like this to play out. Everything about this setup for me still looks great. Let me go ahead and just hide some of this stuff here. Just taking a look at some of our other levels. See if the value area has shifted at all. Yeah, we're contending with the value area high. Yeah, this price action is really interesting. I think that, again, we're contending with the value area high. I could see this deviation down. This would be my first zone to long. We have the value area low right here. Maybe we see a deviation of this level or even a deviation of the value area low down to the monthly. There's a lot of interesting things happening here. I still like this area. I don't think it's a zone that a lot of people will be watching for particularly. But again, it's something we're going to have to watch. Let's see here. I'll update the previous week levels. And then we can go ahead and start looking at some other assets here. Just want to do a little bit of updating to this chart. So we do have our fresh monthly level. Let's update our previous month levels as well. We never took out this previous month high here. I almost wonder if I should keep that. I'll just keep it in mind. How about that? Previous month high. Previous month low. Monthly open. I don't know why this is unlocked. There we go. Yeah, holding the monthly open as support. Okay. Get our previous week levels in. Weekly open. Previous week high. Yeah, we're just about to the previous week high. Yeah, these highs right here are a pretty good contender for a sweep. Maybe we get a sweep or deviation from move down. I think this deviation would probably be a little bit higher if given, just to get rid of those equal highs. And then we would look for something like this. Ultimately, if price gains acceptance above the previous week high volume, high time frame closure, something like that, I think that we could definitely be looking higher towards range highs here at about 74K. We'll just have to wait and see. You know, I can see both things playing out here. I still prefer this zone personally. But again, if we gain acceptance above here, you know, it's likely that we go here. As I said in the beginning of the video, this is the target regardless. It's just a matter of this is where price wants to go. It's a matter of how it wants to get there, right? Are we going to go straight there? Are we going to get a move down here and then get that move up? Regardless of how you want to look at it, this is the target, right? So I would be watching that previous week high for a sweep or a deviation or acceptance above. I think that that's going to be the key level. If we even get there, who knows? Maybe price fails and just goes, you know, gets that move to the downside from here. So I think that about covers our analysis for BTC on the week. I'm still eyeing this zone down here for a long. I'm actually gonna set an alert. And then I'm also gonna set one here. All right. Next we'll take a look at BOME. So this is what I drew out earlier in the week for BOME. BOME. I don't know how to say it. BOME. We still have not gotten this move up to about, you know, I'm just gonna say 14.4.014. This zone here that I would have liked to have taken a short on. But we can see price is still sort of consolidating in this zone, and for me, I like this setup still at the very least down to this 1-1 zone in here to at least take out some of these lows, although I do prefer this move down to about 0.009. So far this looks good. We are seeing rejection generally pretty damn close to the zone that we've been talking about. I was hoping with this pump on BTC that this alt would get that push to this zone that I want to short, and that hasn't happened, and I think that that's kind of a telling thing. Definitely BTC showing strength over alts. So I nonetheless, I still have alerts set here. I will, gonna remain patient and sort of eye that area if given. Taking a look at FET, this was another one here. FET is between the alts that we're watching. It's the second strongest, right behind Pendle. It looks like it's just back testing. Yeah, this is another interesting thing, and I think alts are going to be very telling here. So, you can see that this was support. Well, look where price is sitting right now. It's back testing that support zone. So this could be a deviation if reclaimed, and then, of course, we can target some of these highs and head up to range highs. That said, where I sit, again, because of what I'm looking for, I think that we're going to back test that zone and we'll get this move down into our long area, just like what we expected, at the very least taking out this low and potentially these equal lows here. So I still think that this looks good, right? We are seeing a small rejection here. I think that we'll just have to remain patient. Again, if you're trading on lower time frames, this midline is the one to watch. A move back here like this, and we can definitely run to range highs. But again, I do like this for a rejection here to get us back down to this level here that we're going to be looking to long. Taking a look at Pendle. Pendle is the strongest of the assets that we're currently watching right now. We can see that it did have a really nice, what looks to be like a liquidity grab here. So this was an interesting chart that when I shared it, I talked a little bit about this. Is that we have these equal lows here, virtually these three equal lows over here. We have this fair value gap as well, and what I had said is that I could actually see a sweep of these lows for then an immediate move to the upside towards the all-time high, instead of actually filling the gap and getting the move down here. That said, this is definitely where I feel most comfortable for a long position. However, depending on what happens in this upcoming week, especially with this move up here, I could definitely see a move down where it actually just sweeps like this, and then we do, get the yellow path, right? I could definitely see that sweep here, because now we go down to lower time frames and we go ahead and take a look at these here. None of this has been taken out yet, right? I think it would be pretty vicious. Let's look at volume here. Yeah, decent volume. I think it would be pretty vicious for price to sort of do a Bart Simpson, come down, sweep these, and then get the real move to the upside. Right? This would be a pretty savage setup, and I do like that. So I still have my alert set here. If we do get this move down in this setup here, I will take it for a long position. In the meantime, I think it's, I'm just going to simply continue to wait and be patient and wait for like one of these setups to take play. If price just has, continuation to the upside, then so be it. The setups didn't hit and we just move on to the next trade. Taking a look at Rune. Rune is another one that's sort of in the middle of the pack right now. Up about 2.5% on the day. This was another interesting chart to me. I think there's been some really big moves on Rune. Like if you look at the size of this move from the low here up here, it's almost an 80% move, right? And even locally here, from this local high, that's already a 21% move down. So that's pretty big. And we are seeing, a loss of this channel here on a potential deviation. We had one here, and we're sort of seeing another one here. I still like this SFP zone, but more so this $5 zone for a long setup, this is pretty far down. So I'm a little hesitant on whether or not we'll get there, but it is where I feel most comfortable for a setup. We have these two fans here, and there's a lot of confluence in this area here for that fan, so that's definitely something that I'm going to be watching as price does continue to develop here. But you know, my thinking is that there's a massive amount of liquidity down here at about $5. Not a lot of people are probably going to be expecting that we do get that move down there. And, you know, I do believe that people would get pretty damn bearish in this zone here. I think that we could do something like where price gets moved here, we get a lot of early longers, and then we get the real move down where we grab this liquidity and trap a lot of people. So we'll just kind of have to wait and see. It is entirely possible that we hit this zone here and we simply get the move up, right? It depends on if this wants to be more of a trending market or a ranging market, and that's something that we'll have to sort of keep an eye out for. In addition, like something I didn't mention in my previous video is we do have a potential butterfly harmonic. It looks decent. The timing is a little bit off. It's taking a little bit too long to get that D wave in. So if we started, you know, turbo nuking, I would definitely, you know, a light bulb would go off for me where I would start to watch this butterfly harmonic right away. But, you know, if price sort of just lingers for a while longer, the less likely this butterfly harmonic becomes for me. Pull this up here. I'm just seeing this. Yeah, Austin asked, how do I tell if there's sufficient volume? Volume's completely relative. Yeah, when it comes to indicators, like I have in the Discord, as I'm sure you already know, there's an indicator that tells you if there's been high volume, right? So if you ever see that fire off, that should tell you that, you know, there's high volume relative to the rest or relative to local market. So like how do I tell if there's high volume? So I mean, it's all relative. So like you can see this baseline here. All right, then we have this massive increase, so that's high volume. We have this baseline increase, high volume, baseline increase, high volume. These are a little bit less, you know, and it's just, it's all relative, right? You're not going to like look at volume and be like, oh yeah, that is specifically high volume, because bear market high volume is a lot different than bull market high volume. So that's kind of stuff that you want to watch on whether or not, you know, relative, and then also like looking at time frames, whether that volume actually made a significant impact on higher time frames or it did not, right? So it's relative. I like to have moving averages like this on my volumes data. And when you see sort of a move above that level, you can consider that to be higher than average volume relative to local price action, right? It really is that simple. There isn't like some magic number or like when I see, you know, oh, this X amount of volume rolled in, like that's considered high volume. It really is relative, and having like these moving averages on your volume data is very useful in that sense. So we are onto Solana right now. So Solana, in comparison to some of the other assets that we looked at today, BTC is up 3%, BOEM is up 3%, FET is up 4%, Pendle 6%, Rune 2.5%, and in comparison, Sol is up 1%. So it is the weakest on the day today for the assets that we are watching. Nice rejection here. Again, I said I shorted this, pretty much caught the exact top, and it looks good so far. Again, I took this short based on a pre-market pump, and I also shorted Solana because it is the weakest of the assets that I'm currently trading right now. I'm not going to obviously short the strongest asset, which is Pendle, or even BTC. So far this is looking really good. This is a setup that I've had on Sol for a while. I probably should update my chart a little bit here. But you can see my thought process. This was the previous week low. This is no longer the previous week. I'll have to update that. Nonetheless, you can see that this has been a key level here. We have this low and virtually this equal low here. That ultimately... I want to clean some of this up here. There we go. You know, of these two, I'm just looking for, you know, basically a sweep of some of these lows here, get the move down. And now because of timing, right, when I originally drew this, it was like over here, so price would have had to go down here to get to the bottom of this channel. Now the bottom of the channel lines up really well with this area of support. So, you know, doing something like this and then getting the move up seems very plausible to me. And this is definitely a setup that I like. It's an SR flip zone. We had resistance here, flipped to support, ultimately back testing that support for real. Getting the move up, we would target this, it's not previous week high anymore, but we'd be targeting this high over here as well as the top of the channel. I think all of this is lining up really, really, really nicely. So I'm still looking to bid this like 156, 157 zone. I do have limit orders set down there. Let's take a moment and just like update this chart. I do want to get the current levels just so I can keep an eye on them. It's pretty ugly weekly. Yeah, again, I think this looks great. Deviation, move up, looks great. With the levels updated, it still looks good. Yeah, rejecting the monthly open right now. Looks good. Looks good as in it's gonna go down. Not looks good as in it's gonna go up. Let's see, is there a new monthly level? Do I have that level marked? There is a new monthly. I'm gonna mark that out. I do not see us visiting that monthly, however. Alright, so I still think that this setup tracks. I don't think there's any reason to change it. This is the area. Go ahead and get this over here. Alright, so I'm short Solana right now, like I said at the beginning of the stream. Just gonna sit here and wait for my long zone. I think that this looks great. 156, 157 area for a long. In fact, well, we can come back to that in a minute. Next, we'll take a look at VET. Was another asset that we were watching. What time frame? Yeah, here we go. Yes, VET. VET was a very interesting setup for me. I've seen this before. Yeah, VET was a very interesting setup for me. So, the thing with VET is that if you take the value area of this lower level here, where did I have this drawn out to? So if you take the value area of this price action, you know, it sets us up pretty well at 3 cents. You can also see that this area was, you know, resistance, 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 deviation, deviation. And this double deviation to me here, right? This is a signal that this asset plays kind of dirty. Normally, if you had a deviation like this, you would kind of expect price to visit range lows, or at the very least the midline. It didn't do that. It did another deviation. In fact, it pumped once, had another sort of SFP, and then deviated these levels here, and then got the move up. So this asset plays really dirty. And what that signals to me, when you have a super obvious and clean setup that I swear to God everybody's watching, which is this wedge here, I think it's more likely that the wedge doesn't play out, and we have a deviation of the wedge, right? So we can see that we're consolidating sideways out of the wedge instead of just breaking up. I think that we deviate these levels down into this zone, back test these levels as well as the value area high, and then we get the move to the upside. So I'm still in this. I'm still remaining patient for these levels here at about, you know, 3 cents. I still think it looks good. For me, like I said, because of this double deviation here and sort of the choppy price action and how obvious this setup is, and the fact that we're consolidating out of it instead of breaking out, I think that buyers are waiting for lower to step in, especially at about this 3 cents area. So if that does it for the assets that we've been watching on the day here. Yeah, look at this. Just like we talked about, beautiful rejection here. Beautiful rejection. Worse so on Solana. Shorted the weakest asset today. Piece of cake. Piece of cake. So again, yeah, this is what I'll be looking for on BTC. Definitely a failed auction outside of this triangle here is going to signal that we are going to be visiting that 65 zone, which should just be a perfect setup. We've been remaining very patient for this level for quite some time, so it would be great to get that. Lastly, taking a look at the news that we have coming up here this week, we do have the unemployment rate, U.S. unemployment rate coming this Friday, so I would expect this to maybe be a catalyst for a little bit of action. I know that BTC and crypto alike have sort of shrugged off a lot of that data-related news in the last year here, but nonetheless, I do think it plays some kind of a role, at the very least, as a catalyst for those who do wait for those type of data releases to enter in any positions. So I think that we'll go ahead and call it there. If you guys have any questions or I didn't get to anything, you know, feel free to ask in the Discord. We're cutting it about 35 minutes. I think that that's perfect timing. I'll keep you guys updated. Again, I'm on across all assets that we reviewed this week. I'm still eyeing lower for those long positions. I think that this is a fake pump. And of course, we are getting this really nice rejection so far, so it's looking good. All right, like I said, if there's any other questions, feel free to ask in the group. Otherwise, I'll see you guys throughout the week.